What is up, guys? So today we're going to talk about mental health, why my head is messed up from years of addiction, why I struggle every day with bouts from years of being an addict, life after long-term addiction. People think that you're a heroin addict, all they have to do is go through a detox, get clean, and off they go into this awesome new life. But it's nothing like that. I've got mental health problems now what affect my life. I struggle with, and it's all from years of being an addict, years of homelessness, years of being in prison, and I struggle with bouts of depression and really bad crippling anxiety. And I'm talking about real anxiety, not the pretend one that people use to get out of going to work. I'm talking about life-changing anxiety where you can't live a life what you want to live because of it, and it's all from years of being an addict. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to take you back to the 1980s, where it all began, how I ended up in this position. So sit back, relax, and allow me to regale you. So yeah, when I was at school, I was a naughty kid. Right? I wasn't wicked or nasty. You couldn't teach me. I was just a class clown. All I wanted to do was make people laugh. I was a popular kid, confident. Everybody liked me as far as I can remember. And I left school really young because I just stopped going. I weren't learning anything because you couldn't teach me anything. I was just too busy messing around. So I ended up leaving school and they didn't even phone my parents because they were so happy that I was gone, that I wasn't disrupting everyone and just acting silly. They were just glad to get rid of me. So I ended up leaving pretty early. And during the 80s, it started off, I was big into we used to smoke weed, not weed, it was draw back then. We used to do hot knives underneath the school next door, underneath the hospital next door. And that's pretty much my time at school, was just doing hot knives and just pissing about. And we was big into the Cypress Hill, Public Enemy. We liked the indie music as well. It was my own little crew. And I remember we used to listen to songs like Beautiful South, but indie music was pretty big. I was like, shall we take a trip down memory lane, dodging through the drips of the acid rain, and Happy Mondays, like fucking awesome times. And we used to all have long curtains, like you're twisting my melon, going to the nightclubs, a brilliant time. And I remember going to school one day, and one of my mates, a kid called Tomo, we was all into the same music, and it was cassettes back then. So I said to him, yeah, there's a new fucking Public Enemy tune here, do you want to borrow this tape? And he was like, nah. I vividly remember it. It's weird how you remember these little things. And he says, no, I'm into something different now. And that's when I got introduced to hardcore, like Carl Cox, Stu Allen, Easy Groove, rave music, underground rave music, and that's how I got introduced to it. So then I was just listening constantly to hardcore, and we decided, me and my mate at the time, to go to the local rave, which was the Donny Warehouse, an underground rave, but we need money to get in because we were just kids. We was like 15 years old, maybe even younger, I can't really remember, but we made a decision because he used to work on a Saturday. I was just checking the dog out, could see his shadow. He's probably chewing through some wires as I speak. But what was I saying? Yeah, I had this mate, and we needed money to go. We made the decision we're going to go to this rave, but we needed money. And he used to have like a Saturday job, so he used to nick £60 out of the till every Saturday, and that would pay for the night at the warehouse. So the first time we went, I was waiting for him, and we made the decision to go there. And there was a school next to where he worked. Back then, they didn't have all the fences around the schools. You could just walk into them. It was mental. There was no security at all. So I just went into the school, and I'd be sat in the school waiting. It was all closed because it was Saturday. And then I noticed there was a window open to the tuck shop. And I was like, fucking hell, I'm fucking getting in there. I was just a kid. I didn't think it'd be alarmed up and all that stuff. So I've opened the window, jumped in and grabbed cheese and onion Walker's crisps. It must be fucking 10 boxes of cheese and onion Walker's crisps. So I've got them all, took them to the side, and then my mate's, it's time for him to come back. He's got the money. I said, come on, I've got all these crisps here. So we grabbed them all. We was walking over a field, and fucking the police come, and we got locked up. And it was because we was minors, they had to phone our parents to come in and get us out. So anyway, I think we got a police caution or something. We admitted it all. And this is a part where I always remember this as well. Another strange thing what I remember is I had my Walkman listening to rave music, and they let me keep it while I was in the cell. So I just sat there with my Walkman on. I remember the screw or the officer, whatever, tapped on the door. I looked up, took it off, and he was like, "Wired for sound." And he just walked off laughing. I always remember that. And anyway, yeah, and there's a few times in my life where it seems like all the moons align, all the stars align, and it just seems to go right just for this one thing. And it happened here when we was at the desk. You know, I was with my parents, he was with his parents, and he still had this 60 or 80 quid what he'd nicked from the shop. Now, when you're that young, you shouldn't have like 80 quid. It was a lot of money back then. So if she'd have seen it, his mum, she'd have been like, "Fucking hell, where you got that from?" You know, and then we'd have been busted. But it was crazy. It was like all the stars aligned. Just as the cop was about to give him his property back, another copper came in and said, "Oh," and started talking to him. She turned around, and that's when they gave him the money, and he was like, whoosh, straight in his pocket, so she didn't see it. So anyway, we said, "Right, we're going to the warehouse tonight." So we had the money, we had like 60 quid, and back then the plan was get a couple pills, which were 15 quid each, and a packet of fags, which was like a tenner, fucking from those fag machines. That was more like about a fiver. And then we had like 20 quid for bottles of water and stuff. So we've gone in there, and we was going to have half a pill each, but there was snowballs. I know now it's like one of the strongest fucking pills ever made, and that was our first one, and we was going to have half each, but they were shaped like snowballs, so we couldn't break them in half. So we just dropped a full one. And I'll never forget it, the first time walking into this rave, it was a tenner to get in. And it was just so surreal. Everybody had like luminous colours and glass sunglasses and fucking whistles. It was stood on the sides, all up the stairs. Everybody was just fucking bouncing and stomping. And I'm looking around like, what the fuck is this? There's a DJ at back, you know, with the MC on the stage, and everybody was just rocking. Everybody was loved up, and it was just amazing. And we dropped this pill, and fucking hell, I nearly shot through. It was so strong, I had to nip to the toilet and gather myself. I said, "Right, you're all right, you're at a rave, you know, everybody's buzzing, you're all right." And I come walking out, and I got myself together, and the MC was just coming on the stage, the DJ was just dropping a tune, and I was like, "Fucking come on." And I was just stomping all night, and the night just flew by. Before I knew it, it was the next morning. And so that was my life for maybe, I don't know how long, maybe a year. We did not miss one night at the warehouse. Every single week we used to live for the weekend. And every time we could go to a rave, it was like some days we'd go to a place called Scope, some days we'd go to Destruction, I think it was in Howden back then. And then we'd go to the Uprising a bit later on, because that came just after the Destruction and the warehouse. And then, but the Destruction and the warehouse were the main raves. And then there was another one on a Sunday called Hacienda. So all weekend, we live for the weekend. We just go about normal lives, and then at the weekend, it's just a raves. And it was a fucking brilliant time, the best time of my life. And then I got into the acid. I used to just drop acid, and I'd be out with my headphones on 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd drop acid on me out. And I'd just put my headphones on 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd be flying around on my BMX, just flying around the streets of Donny, just fucking buzzing. And it was just an amazing time of my life. You know, I had loads of friends. I remember one night after the rave, the Maltby crew I used to knock around with. Maltby's a place in Donny. And we was just all buzzing all night, off his heads on acid. It was just a brilliant night. And there must have been about 10, 20 of us. And then I always remember the next morning, just sat on the rocks in this rocky place, like a quarry or somewhere, and the sun was coming up. And it was just a beautiful moment, you know. And these are all the memories, these are the only memories I've got what are good. Because when I first saw heroin, which was after one of the raves, somebody pulled out some heroin. That's when it all went downhill. That's when everything went to shit fast. But anyway, somebody's pulled some heroin out after one of the raves, and I don't think I used it at that point. We didn't really know much about heroin. We knew it was bad, and we knew people say, "Oh, don't use heroin, it's bad." But they said the same about ecstasy. and acid, and I had the best time of my life on that. So I thought it'd just be the same as that, have some heroin on a come down, and then go back to your life. But it didn't work like that. So yeah, that's the first time I saw it. I don't think I had any at that point. But the first time I remember, one of the first times, I was at this kid's house and we smoked some heroin, and I was sat on a chair and it was awful. I was fucking sat there, I couldn't move, and I was like, fucking slavering and that. And then I'd like run to the toilet, puke up, and I just felt horrible, my eyes were fucking in orbit. And I remember thinking, I can't wait for this to be over, it's an awful buzz. And yet somehow I got addicted to it. I can't understand it, I didn't even enjoy it, it was horrible. And then me and a couple of my mates ended up moving to a place called Welbeck Flats, which is a really rough area in Conisbrough, but it's been knocked down now, it was that fun. And we just moved in with these three lasses, we didn't even know him. We just went round one day and just moved in. And and we was using heroin, and like a couple of months later, we just woke up one morning, we didn't have any, and we just all felt ill. We was like, fucking hell, I feel shit today, what's up with me? Well, that's the detox, that's what happened. So we had to go out and we had to do some shoplifting, and that's how I ended up getting addicted. And I still, to this day, I can't figure it out, because I didn't have any problems back then. I loved who I was. I felt really blessed and lucky that I was who I was. I loved it. I was like, yes, you're one of the boys, man. Everybody loves you. You're a nice kid. Things are going great, popular. You can got all these friends. I loved being me, and I used to look at people and think, I'm glad I'm not you. So I had no problems. And so I can't understand it. I didn't want to, because people say, oh, well, it turns to heroin to escape your problems. I didn't have any problems. My life was awesome. It's heroin what caused all the fucking problems. And I ended up addicted, and I was caught in a revolving door for years. I couldn't get out of it. And I look back now, I'm like, why couldn't you get out of it? But I don't know. I just can't, I don't know. I was stuck. And it was a revolving door, shoplifting, get caught, go to prison, get shipped out, do your jail, get out, get back on heroin. And I think it's the boredom what killed you, because heroin addiction is a 24-hour job. It's 24/7. There's no days off, there's no rests, constantly looking for money to keep the sickness at bay. So you're on the go 24/7. Then you go to prison, which is a structured regime. Everything's laid out. You get out at certain times. That's why it's so important to have a routine when you get clean, to stop you from, because when you wake up in the morning, you don't know what you're going to do for the rest of the day. It can seem like a never-ending day. So you'd go to prison. You'd be on the go 24/7 while you're an addict, straight into prison, structured regime, and then you'd get out and be like, well, what now? You've got I've been an addict for like fucking all these years, no qualifications, no experience, nothing. I don't know what to do. And that's what kills a lot of people. They'll be like, well, it's fucking 10 o'clock in the morning, I've done everything I need to do, I'm going to struggle getting a job, so what can I do? At the back of your mind, just go and get some gear, have a smoke, the day's gone. And that's how they end up relapsing. That's when you get back into it. Like I said, the structure now, the routine now that I keep, it's so important. I have worked in the past, just before I relapsed this time, I was working 50 plus hours a week in a fucking factory. I absolutely hated it. But I did it because, I didn't want to be a dosser. And then I relapsed, fucking lost it all the money I'd saved up. I rose through the ranks pretty quick and just ended up fucking losing it all. But yeah, I was trapped in a revolving door. I couldn't get out of it. So I ended up switching from shoplifting, because I was like, I'm in fucking prison all the time. It's like, as soon as I get out, I'm caught again. So I switched it up, and I used to do like commercial burglaries. I put a suit on and slick my hair back. I looked like the world's scruffiest businessman, and I would just walk through fire doors and stuff and try and nick computer monitors. And I've caused a lot of pain in my life, a lot of misery, a lot of people upset because of some fucking junkie nicking the stuff, and that's me. And that's my cross to bear. I have to live with that now, knowing that I've hurt all these people over the years. So I was caught. I ended up doing commercial burglaries, so I wasn't going to prison as often. But then when I did go to prison, it'd be for a lot longer, you know. I'd end up getting like 4 years, 3 years, 18 months. So, you know, and a lot of that stuff, what you see when you're in prison, it never leaves you. You know, the first time I went to prison, it was a Cat A prison. The violence was crazy. I was only a YO. And everyone will tell you has been to prison. YOs are the most worst places to be because everybody's needs a point to prove. Everybody wants to fight. There's fucking things getting smashed in the background, people getting slashed, people getting red hot water in the face. And the first time I went, just think, you know, I'm a 15-year-old kid. I'm into the rave scene. I'm all about peace. I'm all about love. And then I get thrust into a Cat A prison, and I'd not even got on the wing. Down at reception, somebody got his head smashed in. A kid who I know, he's dead now, for throwing pins near a playground. That's why he got beat up. I don't know if he did it or not, but it don't really matter. And he got battered and knocked him out. And the screws just carried him away, and everyone was shouting, "One off!" Just fucking laughing. I thought, wow. And then they took me up onto the wing. Just as we're going on the wing, we're still not even on there. They was carrying a black dude out who had his face done with red hot water, and I was just like, fucking hell. I just couldn't believe it. And the thing what struck me was the screw just like moved to the side while he dragged him off, and then just went, "Come on, son." That's like fucking hell, like it was nothing. And then we got onto the wing, and oh God, there was no TVs back then. The YOs, young offenders, under 21. It was just boom, boom, boom. "Oh, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna smash you." I thought, fucking, what is going on here? It's like a concrete jungle. It's just mental. And for the first 2 days, I didn't come out of my cell. I thought, I'm not going out there. They're fucking crazy out there. But then I was so bored in my cell. I thought, I've got to go out there. It's shit in here. And I remember, the thing I remember about that was there was a newspaper I found under the bed. The cleaners must have missed it. And I was like, yes, a fucking newspaper. I must have read it 50 times. I remember the front page had Robbie Coltrane on it. And it's just fucking like gold dust. And I ended up getting shipped out pretty quick. I was only there a couple of weeks, and they sent me to an open prison because it was the first sentence. It was non-violent, which was Hatfield Open Prison. It was all right, you know. The first time I went, second time I went, I had a bit of a tougher go of it. But yeah, things like that, you know, seeing people get double blasted with a blade. Like, the first time I saw that, my legs went to jelly. I was like, fucking hell, I couldn't believe it. I was just a kid. I wasn't ready to see somebody get fucking slashed with a double blade. And when you see people get knocked out, like, it's not like on the streets. On the streets, somebody has a fight. It's like, come on then. It's all for show, you know. Maybe someone will throw a punch, fucking fall over, and then everybody will leave. It's not like that. In prison, you're in a cell. There's nowhere to escape. And I've seen people get knocked out, and then while they're knocked out, getting their head smashed onto the toilet, and people standing on the bed, jumping up, landing on their head. And it's all this sort of stuff, you know, it never leaves you. I still have nightmares to this day, and it always ends with somebody getting knocked out and getting smashed while they're on the floor, which is directly from prison. If ever I see a knife or a blade, I just freeze, you know, because I've seen the damage what a blade can do to a person. So with my cellmate, cut his own neck, and I was stuck in there with him while he's got a razor blade, 2 o'clock in the morning, and all this sort of stuff contributes, like. It just floats around in your head, and then there's all the years, all the shame, all the embarrassment of being a heroin addict, a smackhead, a crackhead, you know, being the guy selling fucking cheese from door to door, and people shouting smackhead when you walk past, and, you know, I go into a shop and there's people like following me around, like pretending that they're, you know, just so they can watch me, and I was like, just fuck off, leave me alone. And all this is, you know, and it all contributes to having mental health problems, and as a person it makes you aggressive, because in prison you can't let people, that's why you see people like Brett May is always loud and aggressive, because that's how you have to be in prison. And anyone who's done a long time in prison will tell you have to portray this image. I ain't that guy, you know. If you want to come and try and take something, I'm not having it, I'm not standing for it, then, you know, I ain't that dude. And then when you get out, there's people like push into you in a queue, and it makes you mad. You're like, well, you fucking move, dickhead. It means nothing, but because of the years spent in prison, you have to say something, and you take that to the streets when you get out. So so that brings me to today, you know, and The last detox I did when I was an alcoholic, I've spoke about it many times, I'm not going to rehash that, but it almost killed me. And this is what annoys me when people say, oh, look at your eyes are pinned, you're not clean, you're on buprenorphine. Mate, I was on fucking alcohol, crack, Valium, Xanax, pregabalin, gabapentin. I haven't used that for 3 years, so I'm not clean. Yeah, I'm on buprenorphine, but I'd say I'm clean. Because there was a time when I could never imagine being where I am now, you know. I was fat as a pig, I was on loads of drugs and alcohol, and I just wanted to die. I was suicidal. I'm like, I'm done. There's no way back from this. So if you want to say that I'm not clean after what I've achieved from cold turkey, from all that, losing over 7 or 8 stone, then, you know, then that's on you. You know, I consider myself clean. But yeah, that brings us to today, you know, and I struggle. Like, I see people in the street, everybody wants to say hello, you know, like, I never even thought about that when I started this channel. It never even entered my head that people would recognize me in the street and watch my videos and say, oh yeah, how are you doing? So it was a bit of a shock the first time it happened, but it happens all the time now. People are like, hey, Stongon, how you going? And I'm very awkward around people because, you know, I struggle because I've got such bad anxiety. I struggle around people, and anybody who's seen me will tell you, you know, I struggle around people, but I do try to, you know, if I'll try and have a chat for 5 minutes, or, you know, but I'm very awkward around people, and that just comes, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But it's every day, you know, every day is a struggle. I'll get bouts of depression where I don't even want to open my windows. I don't even want to open my curtains because I can't face what's outside. And all this is from years of being an addict. You put me in a prison, I'd do well, I'd succeed, I'd flourish. But put me in a work environment with normal people, I'm like, you know, I get agitated, I hear them talking about their struggles in life, and I'm like, you've got no fucking idea, mate. You don't know what it's like waking up in a doorway. You don't know what it's like waking up in a prison cell, fucking rattling and, you know, wishing that there was a way out, waking up and you wish you hadn't. You don't know what it's like to struggle. So, you know, I get agitated with it, and I take things the wrong way sometimes, even on here. And all this is brought on from years of addiction, but, you know, it's an ongoing thing. And for me now, to where I was back then, just unbelievable. Like, if someone had come to me like 5 years ago and said, listen, mate, keep going, you know, keep going, because it's going to be all right. You're gonna stop using drugs. You're gonna lose all this weight. You're going to make a YouTube channel and you're going to inspire thousands of people. You're going to make them laugh. You're going to, you know, you're going to do this YouTube channel. You're going to get thousands and thousands of subscribers. People are going to want to shake your hand. I'd have been fucking shut up, you silly cunt. What are you on about? You must have been in my fucking crack stash. There's no way that's going to happen. You know, so don't let anyone tell you that you can't, because you can. And it doesn't matter how far you've fallen. Nobody could possibly be any worse than I was. But yeah, so that's the video for today. It can be a struggle, it can feel like the world's against you, but you've got to keep going, you've got to keep moving forward. Better days are ahead. But you know, if you give up, then that's it, innit? That's the only time where you fail, is when you give up on yourself. But anyway, if you like this video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Bonjour.